All right. Welcome everybody to community members and new folks that are watching this video. Some of you guys know who we are and some of you guys don't know who we are. Joseph Perlman, acting coach, founder of Perlman Acting Academy. And we have this beautiful community and beautiful studio, and I am honored and privileged to introduce some of my favorite people, friends, faculty members at the studio, fellow actors, directors, writers, producers, casting directors, and the other teachers and faculty members and coaches at the studio. And I would love to introduce them to you and have a conversation on why we do what we do. So sit back and relax, and welcome to PAA. So we're would love to introduce Annie Chang. Annie, and Annie, if you could introduce yourself, that would be fantastic, and tell folks a little bit about you and what you do, and in your opinion, what makes the studio different?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Annie Chang. I teach at the studio, just like all the other lovely faces here. I've been with Joseph for, I don't know how long now. I don't know. I'm not even going to guess. But I think what I love about this studio, and I think what also makes us different, but I think what makes us different is that instead of giving you just a checklist of things to do, hoping that something will feed you, or saying, well, this is the method that's been used by, Strasberg or Meisner or Stella Adler, which, I'm not knocking on those. That's my background. That's also, Joseph, I know that's your background. I'm not knocking on anything that has already existed, but I think what makes us different and what makes us next level is that everything that we do here, all of the technique that we do here, all of the weird stuff that we do here comes from two places. One, prioritizing your fun and joy, which I promise you is the only way to move forward in a really big way in this industry. Nobody is signing up for class to be like, my dream is to book a co-star. Like, no, we're talking about plan A, right? We're talking about the plan A dream. Everybody that I am friends with that I know who has won an Emmy, who has won a Tony, all of their work has come from a place of joy, of something they really wanted to do and that they created. So not only does I think our work contribute towards your joy first and foremost, I also think all of the work that we do is about what turns you on, right? I'm not just going to tell you to do something because that's what you should do before you act or before you start a scene. We're trying to give you tools that will turn you on. And if it doesn't turn you on, we want to find a way to turn you on, and we'll pivot to find a way to turn you on. But that's the only way that I think you can get to acting that's above just serviceable or good acting or even great acting. To me, that's the little cream at the top. The difference between, oh, wow, that's a good actor, and oh my gosh, who is that? And I must find something for them. So I think those are the two things that make us different. Yeah. Anyway,
cool.
I don't know if that was an intro as much as just writing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have in common, Steve, Matt, Alex, Annie, is that we love acting, that it's fun for us. And I always say the difference between good and great is it is that little bit extra. And I always describe it as being lit up, instead of empty, starting, lit, full instead of empty. Would love to introduce Steve Holm. Steve, we've been working together for many, many years, and welcome, Steve. Tell everybody who you are, and all of you guys help me to learn and grow. Like I kind of see the work we do as we're pushing the outer expanse of what's next. And the things that you say and the perspective that you give in the work is how I'm able to see it from a perspective that I can't possibly see it and push myself to grow. And Steve, some of the things that you say, I quote every single day because you have such great language, especially with regards to the hook. But I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hey, well, there's no pressure on me at all there. So, hey everyone, I'm Steve Holm. Like Joseph said, I've been working with Joseph for a long, long time, which has given me great perspective to watch just from an outside perspective, him working with people and watching people grow throughout the years and trying to, in my analytical brain, decide like, why is this working? Why is this kicking off and making it work? And what is it making it spark something inside somebody, which is something that's been fascinating to watch. And then also for myself, when I come in and I get to a point where I see myself grow in the same area in which I see somebody from the outside. So you get to see it from the outside and you also get to experience it for yourself. And it's more than just acting. It's more than just something that you go to a class, you try to say lines right, you try to choose an intention, you try to put yourself into a box that I remember a lot of people used to put themselves into because you're trying to find the right way to do it. And I think that's something that gets ingrained into so many people's minds when they come in, especially to acting. You see an amazing performance, and in our minds or something, we're trying to say, oh, I'm going to cry here. It affected me somehow. I want to recreate that. And the thing about it is that you come to the realization that that thing that moved you about that performance that you saw was something that was happening inside of them. You were picking up on what was going on inside of them. And the thing that I love about Joseph's work and everything like that is we're finding the thing that lights up inside of you. So it's something that makes it easy for somebody to go into a scene, not having to think about, oh, well, I'm crying because this happened 12 years ago and it affected me this way and this is what's going on. It allows you the freedom to find out what resonates inside of you. And it can be connected to the story. It can be non-connected to the story. It can be something that runs a parallel to those emotions, something that resonates inside of you. But what happens is we're able to tap into it in a way that makes you vibrate, that makes you have this energy inside of you. So when we get to a point where it's time to say your lines, to have those things come out, you're living a full life and you're not having to worry about, oh, am I going to get this point across? Am I going to be able to let people know that I'm upset with them or anything like that? Because you genuinely feel it. And it could be the subtlest thing in the world. It could be as much as a look, and it'll seem like somebody's screaming without even saying a word. And that's the beauty of what I love about the Joseph Perlman. Like, I don't want to call it a method because it really isn't a method. It is just a freedom that it gives you of looking inside yourself. And that's my intro.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, this is cool. I like having these sort of intros, and we can kind of nerd out on a couple things. Matt, thank you for hanging out with us. Matt Beebe, been working together for a while, and Matt, we met through SAG-AFTRA, the SAG-AFTRA Conservatory some years ago, and good to see you. Tell everybody who you are and your perspective on the work we do and how it's different. But yeah,
it's good to see you. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to see everybody today. It's
really nice.
I'm excited by all your faces.
Yeah.
I have an interesting. I always have an interesting perspective, but immediately in this moment right here, I have an interesting position because as a studio member first here, I've worked with everybody in this room. Like every single person in here has coached me. And that's just it's cool to see because I can look at each of you and just see like the different things that probably everything that I'm going to say right now, I took from one of you at a time and don't even remember to cite it back to you. So please don't be offended if I just quote you directly and pretend like it was my revelation.
I am definitely guilty of doing the same at times, although I really consciously try not to. So go for it. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You and I met at the AFI intensive through SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah.
We met at a really interesting, uncomfortable time in my life. I was quitting acting. I told you that day, I think, that I was quitting acting because I'd gone through a couple of years of struggle of finding an acting studio. I literally had many studios, I'm going to back up. I literally had many studios tell me to my face that because I'm in a wheelchair, they did not want to have me.
I remember you saying that. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, that was shocking.
Because I'd be put on their roster and I wouldn't find success, and that would be a ding on their credibility. To my face. So you and I met
That's
at an interesting
crazy.
time. It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's discrimination is pervasive in the industry, and kind of what I learned in that moment and in that day, and in talking to you, because you were kind of the first person that I opened up to about it, was that not talking about the things that we go through and kind of trying to ignore it or fight through it or struggle through it is not helpful, and it gets nobody anywhere. I wasn't going to talk about any of that just now, and it all just came out. So in finding this studio and in finding this work, the thing that is most important to me, fun is always the priority. Fun in life, fun in everything we do, fun in the acting, fun in all of it is always the priority. To quote Annie, because if we're not having fun, we can go do something else. We can go be accountants. But
Yeah.
Fun is always the priority. But for me here, there's something that's more powerful in what we do, and that it's as actors, we get to start with baseline of us being enough. We get to start with us, with me personally being the thing that is the power. So baseline, I am enough. I get to create from my body, my voice, my brain, and not despite it. I don't have to fight who I am, which I've been in the industry for 3 decades now. 3 of those decades were me constantly trying to outact my disability, trying to outact my wheelchair, trying to get people to see me despite what I am and what I look like, which is not powerful. It's not empowering, and it's not useful. It's not helpful, and it's not fun. So I think for me, the most important is baseline. Actors get to start from a place of them being enough, and then just go from there. We build on top of instead of trying to tear down, which is very important to me.
Matt, thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you.
That's beautiful. That is one of the things. And thank you for sharing your personal journey as well too. There. Yes, we do not strip people down. The person that you are is 90% of your success potential, is 90% of your best work. And I always say we can't create a humanity and a soul that's more interesting, infinite, and beautiful than your own. So we ask ourselves, under what conditions would it be possible to feel that, under the influence of, and all that. Matt, thank you. This is really kind of a chill relief for me. Those of you here and those of you watching, to having these really high energy videos where I'm talking to folks out there, but it's nice to sit back and chill a little bit. I would love to introduce Alex Aschinger. Alex, we've known each other for many years. Who I can't remember who was there first, Steve or Alex. Steve was there first. Okay. But Alex, I'm very grateful to you as well for the care and love that you give to everybody, and just for being a great person. Alex, if you could tell everybody who you are and a little bit about how you feel that this work is different, but a little bit about yourself first, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Alex Aschinger. Right now I say that I've been with you for 9.5 years, which probably means it might actually be 10.
Yeah.
I've been saying 9.5 for a little while now. So, and Steve, I think, made it right before me.
Yeah, but I was trying not to let people know how long I've been here, because I still look like I'm 20.
I just outed you. You started at
You
10.
do. Are you a vampire?
A little bit. I've been accused many times.
It's the lighting.
By the way, you guys should see Steve. I mean, Steve, your acting. I mean, I know we're just hanging a little bit here. Steve, your acting is on a level I have never before seen. It is so good. Anytime you guys want to, it is really good right now. Anyway. We're putting the attention on Steve for a second. What, Annie?
I said, I want to see.
You have to see it. It is this.
I'm trying to get the world to see. That's what's going on.
And you're doing a good job. Anyway, Alex, sorry, I want to bring it back to you.
Let's say outside of coaching and acting, also been developing, writing, producing, directing. I've moved a little bit more into the commercial world recently, which has been really eye-opening and fun. In fact, the rest of my day today is shooting actors on green screen.
Cool.
So I've got a pretty full day of that, which is a lot of fun. And then on set again tomorrow. I think I want to applaud Matt for saying what he said. And then I want to build on top of it because he said in there, I almost didn't say it. I wasn't going to say this on all that. And it builds right on top of what we've talked about, what you brought in a while ago, Joseph, is we want what you're holding back, right? That wasn't going to come out, but it came out and is very powerful.
Yes.
A lot of what I chase in my class is, what is the thing you're not saying? What is the thing you're not willing to say right now? And I push and I push and I push and I push until people finally say that thing. And every single time somebody says it, oh my God, it's magic. And that's one of my favorite things. It was like, and then afterwards we go, why were you afraid to say it? Why were you afraid to go there? Why wouldn't you go there? And it was like, well, I didn't think it was what they wanted or it was right or whatever. And it's so much of what the class is getting your mindset away from what do they want, or what we talk about a lot, what I've talked about a lot is you can't control what people see. So stop trying.
Yes.
Do what you love to do it in a way you love to do it. And then don't worry about what they see because they're their own human person who's going to see whatever they see. And that's art. That's the definition. The painter creates a painting, puts it out there. They don't tell you what the painting is most of the time. You get to experience it by yourself and then decide how it makes you feel. We as actors have somehow missed that point. But that's a huge piece of it. And I think the other part, the part that I think sets us apart a lot is for me personally, what I gained out of it is I went from my head to my body. As an actor, I was a very thought-forward, writing everything down, backstory, blah, 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 which is great pre-work, but it doesn't give you anything at the end of the day. So now I'm an actor who's very much emotions and feelings and body forward. What I always say to my students is let your body come to the party. If you're not moving, if your body's not moving in a natural way, then there's a disconnect between your brain and your body. And that's what I got out of the studio. And that's where I especially get great joy out of working with actors who started where I did, which is all mental and thinking and getting them into their bodies and seeing with the freedom of, oh God, I don't have to think anymore. How cool is that? So, I mean, so those are the two things that I'm especially playing with a lot lately.
Yeah. I'm taking notes as you guys are talking. You guys, for those that don't know, these are the people that I take these notes. I say these quotes in every class. These are the people in this room, Matt, Steve, Annie, Alex, that I learn and grow from because of your perspective on this work. And let your body come to the party is really beautiful. I want to, and Alex, thank you very much. Thank you. What I want to do is I've mentioned some of the things that, excuse me, that you guys say that's so inspiring. Annie, with what you're saying about don't apologize for the space you take up in the frame. And Annie, with we don't want to practice what it's like to not have fun. We want to practice what it's like to have fun and prioritizing that fun. And we're not a studio where you just ding the end bell of your scene over and over again. We want it to be fun all the way through. So I always encourage everyone, if it isn't fun, stop and let's get back to work. And Alex, with that beautiful quote about stop, you can't control what people see. And I always say everyone's going to have an opinion, and great actors know great acting because of what great acting feels like. It's fun, it's effortless, you're having impact, and it feels like your version of it. And it brings us back to this is one of the great questions we ask is, what is the idea of it? What's the idea of the role versus What your version is, and you can apply the same thing to your life, is, am I playing the idea of myself? Am I bringing someone else what I think someone else's idea of me is? It goes back to this, what are you holding back? Steve, your thoughts on the hook, I use every day. Steve always describes the hook. The hook is the thing that makes it so you don't have to act. So we preface this by the difference between good and great. Are you starting every scene emotionally lit up instead of empty? And Steve, you describe it as the emotional momentum going into the scene, the thing that makes it so you don't have to act. I'd love to talk about this concept of the hook, because it's something that a lot of folks who are new and watching the work for the first time are very curious about. One of the things we talk about with the hook is you can't find it if you can't look at the text and find it. It has to be distilled. So your best choices are not going to be found in the text. They're born from the text. So don't try to go search what the hook is, because it's going to run 100 miles an hour away from you. Steve, there's no better person that I can think of to really get specific into what a hook is and what does it mean to you. If you could talk a little bit about that, that would be fantastic. I'm always so relieved when you guys come into the class and are able to answer some of these great questions that the auditors ask. So Steve, I'd love for you to talk about that, the hook.
I think the most important thing, especially for somebody coming in, is that the hook is a living, breathing thing. A lot of people, I think, when they're coming in from different avenues of work or different things that they're looking at, they're trying to think of a hook as just one statement that they have, and it magically releases everything else. So they can say, oh, I know what this sentence is, or I know what my to use like more common intention is when they come in. And then they compartmentalize it. They almost take that, put it to the side, and as Annie described so beautifully, it's something that they almost just have. It's an answer to a question, but they're not living inside of it. And what the hook actually is, in terms of what we are, is it makes something inside of you resonate. It's something that's going to pop. It may be a separate thing every time you go into the scene, but what the hook is it's your emotional light up, as Joseph calls it so much. It's what you discover as you read. You're going to get a script, you're going to read through the text, you're going to get information from it, but you're not going to be stuck to just what's on the page. Everything that's in there has a meaning to you. Everything in this character's life, and don't get confused with the backstory, has led us to this point and how we feel about it. So as we go up, as we figure out what's happening in our world, as we explore outside of the scene, which is just as important as what's actually on the page, it goes from there being a whole bunch of darkness with these little words on a page to you're fulfilling an entire life that's full of emotion, that has many things going on inside of somebody at the same time. And as we kind of get all of those things in this big cloud and we crunch it into a critical mass of how we feel, it compresses into a short 1, 2, 3, 5 words or less of Joseph says sentence that encapsulates everything that we're feeling. Not explaining it to somebody, it's for us. It's what we're feeling at the moment and what has to blurt out to represent all of that stuff. And then we take that momentum and we ride it into the scene. So that hook is, I can't believe this crap, or I want to kill you, or something like that. But it's not the words, it's the feelings that make those words come out. Yeah. And then we start that emotion. That emotion is what carries us into that first moment of the scene. It's not we say it, we stop, we start the scene. It's we're ready to jump across the screen right now and grab somebody with it.
Yeah.
That's what allows us to be playing not just one thing, but have multiple layers, different things happening all at the same time. And we don't have to worry anymore about trying to hit certain beats or hit certain moments. All it is us living in the moment right there of that interest, of that emotional shot that goes out of the cannon. And then we just flow with wherever we're going to end up going, wherever the wind takes us, whatever it allows us to affect us in the scenes, ways we've never known that were going to happen if we try to control it from the start. It's a very wordy way of saying it, and I know I could have done it a little bit quicker, but I
it's think beautiful.
Encapsulate everything that the hook actually means to me.
Thank you, Steve. I'm just remembering your hook from last class, which involved a rocket in a certain body part, and we won't go there. And yes, Yeah, and I think the thing to say is the hook. It's not that prior moment. It's the moment of. It's that inception. It's the and it's not foreign to us as people. It's like we have these things inside of us. I always use the same example. I'm not going to use it again, but we have a feeling that we mean, but we say something different. And I think the work really picks up at that point where, it's like people really feel what we mean, not what we say. The words, as Martin Landau says, are only what a character is willing to share, willing to reveal. The 90% they aren't willing to reveal is what we do for a living. And I really love that. Any other thoughts from you guys about like the hook and what it's meant to you personally, and maybe sort of a way of describing it to somebody who's new to the work? Feel free to jump in. Annie, yes, please. Oh yeah, I
have so many thoughts. I think that something I often tell my class is like, if I followed your character around all day in their life with the camera, and then this scene is just like, I decided to cut that little section and take it out, it would feel like there was a whole day that happened before, a whole life that has happened before. What exactly you were doing in that moment, you would be full of so many things because this camera has just been following you around, right? As opposed to an actor sitting perfectly center with their nice little backdrop, waiting for their first line, right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference between a performance that is fully immersed in a life versus a performance of a good actor ready to go, right? I don't want to see a tape and say that's a good actor. I want to watch a tape and say, that's the person, right? That's the difference what we're doing here. When you see the acting, then you're already kind of dead in the water. I don't want to see the acting anymore. I just want to see somebody experiencing right here, right now. And I think to sort of piggyback on what Matt and also what Alex were saying about being enough, I think what's really cool about the studio is there's a meeting place here with the hook, and also understanding I am enough and I don't need to apologize for whatever it is that I feel right now. Because I think when I look at my acting in my 20s and my early 20s, if I was going in for a very emotionally distressing scene, I would sit in the audition room and I would be like, all right, get really upset. I'm going to be a ball of sadness, get real upset. And then always it would feel really like fraught and tight and not easy or loose and certainly not fun. Because I thought I had to be a certain way in order for that scene to exist correctly. And what is amazing and beautiful, I think, about this work is when you've been working with the hooks enough, you start realizing, oh, wow, anything works as long as I am really experiencing it fully. And so it's like, I can't say too much about the show since this is being recorded, but I did a show in Canada. I had a very emotional scene. And I remember thinking like, oh man, this is going to be so stressful. And then I was like, oh wait, whatever I am actually feeling right now, that is also valid and okay. So when you learn to not apologize for yourself anymore, you just actually are able to access what is actually happening right now. So that's one part of it. And the other half is, okay, but if I get really good at the hooks, the entire world of emotions is now open to me, right? I can fully access anything that I want to instead of exactly what's happening here. But these are all valid things instead of thinking I have to be a certain way in order for a certain scene to be good. Because that's how your tape starts to look like everybody else's tape for an audition, right? Everybody goes into a mad scene screaming, I'm mad. And the one person who goes in smiling with the exact opposite energy, that's the one where you go, wow, who is that? Because the words are going to be mad. You don't need to be mad on top of mad words. You let the words do their job. You do your job, which is anything other than the words.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I don't know if I can talk about it, but there was an amazing email that you shared with me recently from J.J. Abrams. Can I mention that one?
I think so. I don't know, actually. I don't know if that's allowed to be public information or not, but
maybe I won't, but okay, so we won't. But it's towards that particular thing of, it's like the best notes that you can get from production team is really something to the effect of thank you for being the only one willing to do that. Thank you for being the only one willing to do what everybody else was not willing to do. It wasn't at all what they were looking for. It was better. It was something like that. Right, Annie? Is that in your experience with these incredible, roles that you've been booking, what has there been feedback on the production end? Are you getting that kind of feedback as to sort of why you booked it? Is there something you could point to? I
think the reason, if I were to point, if I'm being really honest, if I were to point, why did I start booking more and more, and why was I not booking as much before? Because I won't lie, before coming to the studio, I was booking things. Like, it wasn't like I had no career, but I wasn't getting to the level that I wanted to get to, right? I didn't become an actor just to do like a part here and there and not get to work all the time. I think what really changed, am I allowed to swear on this?
Yes. Yes.
I think this work allowed me to just stop giving so many fucks. Like just stop giving a fuck, because I gave a lot of fucks before, thinking, well, it has to be this way, right? They wrote it like this, so it's supposed to be this way. When you stop giving a fuck, then you start putting Matt's magic in the scene, or Alex's or Steve's magic in the scene. And that is actually what we need and we want. When you start trying to do what the scene's doing, you're taking all of your own magic out of it. And then it's like, it could be anyone performing the scene, right? Yeah. So I think it's just, I stopped giving so many fucks and then doing what I want to do. And that is a much more genuine, authentic performance and a fun performance than someone trying to please someone. It's like going on a date. If someone's trying to please you, you're like, oh man, I got to go home, right? They're just being themselves. There's something sexy about that, right? Okay.
I was going to say it's unsexy. The other thing is unsexy. Yeah. 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 Matt. And then Alex, you had talked about, we're talking about rule breaking, but there's a right way to do it. There's a way to do it that it's for you, not because you think somebody else is going to, you do it for you, not because of somebody else. Matt, please. I'm loving this.
Annie brought up, let the words do what the words are going to do, which is completely wonderful. I use an analogy a lot, which I say that now and then I'm going to fumble through it as if I've never said it before. But I use an analogy a lot of lighting up with different colors. And I think it applies to the text, but I think it's stronger with using other actors as the example. If we in the hook, if we in the emotional startup of the scene, the top of the emotional light up of the scene, if whatever this like anxious energy in me is glowing a bright yellow, and I let it all out. And then Alex shows up and does whatever he's going to do as the other actor, and it turns out to be this like brilliant blue of whatever is coming out of him. Now there's this green in the middle that didn't exist before, and that neither of us could control, which is what makes the art alive, which is what makes it art. If I'm gonna thank you for asking if we can swear, Annie. I sometimes am a little bit of a dick to crafts versus art, like, because arts and crafts get thrown together all the time. I love crafts. I have Mod Podge right here. But
I'll ask you what that is later.
It's like blue.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
My daughter might like it. Yeah.
It's like an all-purpose adhesive. Never mind. Crafts are when we try to control what the outcome is, because there's a step-by-step, and this is what it's going to look like, and this is how it's going to be. It might have slight variations, slight differences based on who does it, but it's a controlled thing, whereas an art is a living thing that we can't control the way people see it. We can't control what people's takeaway is from it. It's alive, and it's its own, and it's only alive if we generously give ourselves fully to it. If I light up with all the colors that I am, and Annie in the scene lights up with all the colors that she is, and Steve and Alex light up with all the colors that they are, now we have different colors that we could not have predicted, and we could not have planned. We couldn't have controlled. We couldn't have decided it to be anything than what it just now is.
Yeah, it's beautiful because it's, I say a lot of that it chemically reacts. nobody's going to see your hook. They're going to see what it does when it chemically reacts with the text. And we talk about this a lot of the time, the text as like a data dump, as tell actors, let go of your obligation to the exposition. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not obligated to it. It's doing something. You have a responsibility to figure out whether what you mean is in accord with that or not in accord with that, right? And I think that's a big thing, is that folks get caught up in the exposition, in that actors are never the delivery system of exposition. And I think a lot of folks get caught up in that dimension of it. And one of the cool things that happens when you go on this discovery, you find there's a hidden dimension to the scene. There's all this stuff that you didn't see in the page that all of a sudden, oh my gosh, like I have a feeling for the space I'm in, or I have a feeling for something that just kind of arose out of the exploration. And the cutting edge stuff that we're doing right now, and you guys all have this experience, is some of the best work is when all the work is done and the actors actually leave the dimension of the scene. It's like they're somewhere else at a beach or having some other scene, and then the scene happens from that moment. Just like how in life, how where our passions are coming from, we're almost in another place other than the place we're in right now, right? You guys, does that make sense? It's kind of neat. And I think that's some of the most exciting work I've seen recently, is where the actors leave the dimension of the piece and they're in some other place, right, Steve? Yeah.
It's people not worrying about what they think that scene is supposed to be, or even being there. They're bringing, one of the things when we're in class and we're working with students a lot of times, especially, is to, hey, put the scene on pause, put the words on the page on pause. What's going on in this person's life, in your life right now? And you talk about things in first person form because they're experiencing, it's how they see it, it's what's important to them. It takes that pressure and that power away from the page and actually lets them know what's really going on and lets it disappear. They could be on a beach even though the scene's taking place in the subway, because they're just needing to escape something in their life right now. Your brain works so much faster than your intellect can keep up with sometimes. And it's a way of your subconscious getting out, trying to explain what's really happening. That's one of the things I love about the hooks, is that it opens up these multi-leveled, multi-dimensional feelings that are going on inside of somebody. If you look at like, hey, this is my backstory, I feel this, I'm angry at my dad because of this, you're really setting your intention by the time you get to that scene. So you're aiming everything to be upset at the start of that scene, as Anna was talking about earlier. And so you're just playing that anger, you're just playing that hurt. And what the feelings that we kind of get to do with the hooks is it opens us up to playing multiple things. The hurt's still there, but now we have love. And it multiplies that hurt that's going in there because you wanted this person so bad. You love him so much, even though you can never receive that love. Those are just hypotheticals, but I see it time after time. And I love watching students discover something and surprise themselves, especially in scenes where the words are saying, I trust you, I care about you, you're going to be okay. And I have to work with some students and being like, but what's really going on inside? What are you feeling right now that's making you say that? And that's when they discover like they're terrified. They're terrified inside. So you can see what's going on inside. You can see them fighting through their own personal terror to help out their daughter, their friend, their coworker. And it's amazing to watch because these scenes just come alive. And after the students are done, they sit there and they're like, you see it when it happens because there's this pause that happens and they just sit there and you usually hear them like, that was cool. They're trying to process it in the meantime. And it's the best thing to do as a teacher watching these things. Like I love watching them. And I think everyone here knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes. I want to wrap up with this question. If there is sort of one sort of quick and dirty point tip or something that you would say to a new member of this community, somebody coming into this community for the first time, in preparation for their work with you in one of the classes, if there's just some really quick type of thing that you would say. Would love to hear it. I was very inspired. Philip Seymour Hoffman some time back said, some advice to new actors is anytime you have an opportunity to act in a space somebody's paying rent for, whether it's online, in person, you have an opportunity to be the best to do the best acting you can possibly do. And if you consistently do your best acting every time you show up and you do your job well, something will transpire ultimately. And I love that. It goes back to the craft, doing great work. And this is what we're talking about. Yeah, Alex, I would love to start with you, and we'll kind of work. We'll start from there. But yeah, Alex, something you'd say to somebody who's just about to jump into one of your classes.
I think the one of the biggest things would be prepared to just throw yourself in 100%. Believe whatever it is you're doing. Like any words that you're saying, if you have to believe them. If you don't believe them, it doesn't matter. And throw yourself at it 100%, and then just see what happens. Let it go from there. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest hurdles that I think starting with new actors can be, is a tentativeness. But the quicker you're willing to throw yourself at it, throw yourself at the wall or whatever it is, the quicker you'll experience it and start and wanting to jump in every time.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Matt, what would you say as just some sort of, sort of quick and dirty advice, to just meaning just sort of, something to easily digest for somebody to come on in to be in the right space?
Well, I wonder if we have the same thing to say to people because we both have foundations classes, but I think that's the onus of your acting is on you. You're in charge of if you run at it. You're in charge of if you, this might be a little, I'm not going to judge it. You're in charge of if you show up prepared. You're in charge of what you bring in. You're in charge of your career. You're in charge of your acting. So a little like what Alex said, I always say to run at the wall 1,000 miles per hour. If we do something in class and you hate it, you don't have to do it again. like we'll do something else next time, but you need to go at it full speed to see if it's the right thing to do, to see if it's the direction you want to do. And I stole this from Annie. We can give you all the tools, but we can't make you jump in the pool. You got to jump in.
That's beautiful. Matt, thank you. That's great. Steve.
I trust yourself. I mean, there's 100 and 110%. We hear so many people when they're coming, especially from other disciplines, from other ways of learning out there, that it's do less, do nothing. And it creates this cycle of people chopping off their personality to try to connect to something. And what I love to see when people come in is we want all of you. You're good who you are. That's the most important thing. So when you come in, don't be afraid to show who you really are. Have your real emotions, have your real connections. You almost never have to worry about being so too big because you're going to be so connected to it. It's going to read true. I don't care how small you're acting. If you're trying, if you're not connected to it, it's always going to seem like doing too much. If you're going 1,000 miles an hour because you're connected to it and that's what you're really feeling inside, you're doing yourself a disservice not to do that. So trust that who you are is enough and go at it with full abandon and just go. And like Matt said, if it doesn't work, that's what we're here for. We find out what resonates with you. We find out what's happening. We're not going to make you do 1,000 different ways the way that we think it is. We're bringing out the best part of you so you can go wherever you are and be a Swiss Army knife to whatever's happening. That's what I love about it. That's my quick and dirty for everyone that I think I kept under 15 minutes. So I think we're good on that.
This is great. I mean, these are great. Thank you, Steve. Annie, we'll finish with you and then we'll put the conversation down for another day. But yes, Annie.
I'm also never quick, but I will say this is very much, I think, just echoing what Matt and Alex and Steve have already said, which is, I think because I have the advanced class, a lot of people come in already having done some classes, you know, having had some training somewhere else, or they've been working or whatnot. And it's funny, I tell them sometimes, it's like, I can help you revise and rework ways in which you think about things so that you can have more fun. But at the end of the day, I think also what will help you equally as much is a real belief that you are enough. You are enough, right? Because when you believe you are enough, you stop doing all that weird shit. You stop all the nervous tics. You stop making choices that aren't fun for you. You stop worrying about what they want or what I want. I'm like, I don't give a shit about what I want. What do you want? And that's not just with getting a part. That's also with things like the business side of things, agents and managers and all that stuff. People ask me all the time, well, well, do you think they would want this? I'm like, I don't give a shit what they want. What do you want? And whenever I say that, people are like, I hadn't thought about that. And I'm like, what do you mean you haven't thought about that?
Yeah.
Always think about, what do I want, right? So I think the first thing is you are enough, exactly as you are. And piggybacking off what Steve said in the very beginning about people wondering about what box they belong to, fuck that shit. I want you to create your own box, and I want that box to be something that someone else one day says, I really want an Alex Aschinger type, right? Like, fuck that box. I want you to create your own box, right?
Yeah.
That's like, who cares? Nobody is getting into this at this studio saying, you know, I always make fun of them that you just want to book, you know, a couple guest stars and I'll be happy, you know, a couple of lines here. Nobody's doing that for this, right? For the level of career that we are talking about, the level of dream and aspiration, you are going to create your own box. So let's go there first, right? Don't go for plan C, D, E, F, Z. We are plan A. We are a plan A studio, right? And that's it. I would say those are my 2 cents.
That's badass. Thank you, Annie.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. Alex, you said something once to me, which is telling actors to stop trying to create, you know, niche type. Don't niche type yourself. Create the niche. Create the type. You know, is another, yeah. You guys, thank you. Matt, Alex, Annie, Steve, thank you guys for this beautiful conversation. And I look forward to having more of these types of conversation. Much love to those of you who are members of our community, past members of our community. And if you are new to our community, we welcome you guys from anywhere in the world. Come and experience this work. You're invited to a free audit via Zoom from anywhere in the world. Meet our incredible actors from celebrity to beginner, and watch the breakthroughs. And you can get a free audit on the website at www.josephperlman.com, PEARLMAN.com, and click get a free audit and all that. So thank you guys. And cool. This was really great. Thank you guys very, very much. I'm going to, sure.
I want to say one thing.
Steve, yes, please.
Yeah, I do want to say that, like, I know that this was to meet us and everything, but I do want to say thank you to Joseph, because I think everybody in this room, without having to take a survey of anybody's feelings, knows that it's more than just an acting class. It's more than just a job for any of us. There's something that is lighting up, making us better people, not just better actors. And it's something that I hear time and time again. I get to do a lot of different classes through everything. And there's a culture that you created that I know has so positively affected my life that I just want to share it with everybody out there. And I think that it's something that really I just want to put out there and make sure that I say thank you on behalf of everybody here.
Steve.
And all of you students as well. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very, very much. That's really, really kind. Thank you very much. You guys rock on with your classes this week. And thank you again for sharing yourselves, you know, with the community. So thank you. We will pause for now, and we'll pick up this conversation again.